Biography of Volodymyr Zelensky. Chapter 1. Childhood and Family. Volodymyr Zelensky was born on January 25, 1978, in Kryvyi Rih, Ukraine. His father, Oleksandr, was a professor of computer science, and his mother, Rima, worked as an engineer. He grew up in a Jewish family that valued education and hard work. His first language was Russian, and he later became fluent in Ukrainian and English. When Zelensky was young, his family moved to Mongolia for 4 years because of his father's job. When they returned to Ukraine, he attended school in Kryvyi Rih. He was a bright student, active in theater and sports. He especially loved acting and performing on stage, showing early signs of his future career. Although he was passionate about performing, he chose to study law at the Kyiv National Economic University. However, he never pursued a legal career. In 2003, he married Olena Kyashko, a writer, and they had 2 children, a daughter, Alexandra, in 2004, and a son, Kirilo, in 2013. Chapter 2. The Comedy Career. Even though he studied law, Zelensky's true passion was entertainment. In 1997, he and his friends formed a comedy group called Kvartal 95. The group quickly became famous for their sharp political humor, performing in Ukraine and Russia. Their comedy made fun of corruption and political issues, making people laugh while highlighting serious problems. Kvartal 95 expanded into a major production company, creating TV shows, movies, and comedy programs. Zelensky became one of Ukraine's most popular comedians. His humor and charisma made him loved by audiences. He even became a judge on Ukraine's Got Talent, further increasing his popularity. In 2015, Zelensky starred in a TV series called Servant of the People. In this show, he played a school teacher who accidentally becomes president after a viral video of him complaining about corruption spreads across the country. The show was a huge success, and many Ukrainians began to see him as a real leader. Chapter 3. Entering Politics. The success of Servant of the People led Zelensky to consider real politics. In December 2018, he shocked Ukraine by announcing his candidacy for the 2019 presidential election. His campaign was unlike any other. He avoided traditional politics and used social media to reach voters directly. His message was simple. He promised to fight corruption, improve the economy, and bring honest leadership. Many Ukrainians, frustrated with traditional politicians, saw him as a fresh and trustworthy choice. His campaign was full of energy, and his popularity grew quickly. In April 2019, he won the election in a landslide, defeating President Petro Poroshenko with over 70% of the vote. He officially became Ukraine's president on May 20, 2019. However, his real challenges were just beginning. Chapter 4. Challenges as President. As soon as Zelensky became president, he faced serious problems. Ukraine was struggling with corruption, economic difficulties, and an ongoing war in the eastern regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. People expected him to bring quick changes, but politics was more complicated than he had imagined. To gain more control over the government, he dissolved parliament and called for new elections. His party, Servant of the People, won a majority, giving him the power to push for reforms. He focused on reducing corruption, strengthening the economy, and improving relations with Europe. However, he faced strong resistance from powerful businessmen and politicians. Many of his promises were difficult to achieve because of deep-rooted corruption. Meanwhile, the war in eastern Ukraine continued, and peace talks with Russia showed little progress. Chapter 5. International Relations and the Pandemic. Zelensky's presidency soon became linked to global politics. In 2019, his phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump led to Trump's impeachment in the United States. The scandal made Ukraine a major topic in world news. Then, in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic hit Ukraine. The government had to take quick action to control the virus. The healthcare system struggled, and the economy suffered. Many businesses closed, and people lost their jobs. Despite the crisis, Zelensky worked hard to keep Ukraine stable. At the same time, he continued building relationships with Western countries, asking for support against Russian aggression. However, tensions with Russia continued to rise, leading to an even bigger crisis. Chapter 6. War with Russia begins. For years, Ukraine's relationship with Russia had been tense. In 2014, Russia had taken Crimea, and fighting continued in the eastern part of Ukraine. Zelensky tried to negotiate peace, but Russia did not agree to stop its aggression. By the end of 2021, Russia started moving troops to Ukraine's borders. Many feared an invasion. Zelensky asked for international support, but no country was willing to send soldiers. Then, on February 24, 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion, attacking major cities. Despite the danger, Zelensky refused to leave Kyiv. He stayed with his people, making daily speeches to boost morale. His famous words, "I need ammunition, not a ride," showed his determination to defend Ukraine. Chapter 7. Leading Ukraine in War. The war changed everything. Ukraine was under attack, and millions of people fled their homes. Zelensky became a wartime leader, uniting the country against Russia. He asked for weapons and aid from Western countries, and many responded. Despite being outnumbered, Ukraine's army fought bravely. Ordinary citizens also joined the fight, defending their cities. Zelensky used social media and video calls to address world leaders, ensuring Ukraine received support. His leadership won global respect. He spoke in parliaments worldwide, reminding leaders that Ukraine was fighting not just for itself, but for democracy everywhere. His speeches inspired people across the world. Chapter 8. The Fight for Survival. The war caused massive destruction. Cities were bombed, infrastructure was damaged, and thousands lost their lives. Zelensky and his government worked tirelessly to keep the country running and support their people. Sanctions from the U.S. and Europe hurt Russia's economy, but the war continued. Ukraine's army, with Western weapons, pushed back Russian forces in many areas. Zelensky visited soldiers on the front lines, encouraging them to stay strong. Despite the hardships, Ukraine refused to surrender. Zelensky became a symbol of resistance. His leadership turned him into one of the most admired figures in the world. Chapter 9. The Road to Victory. As the war dragged on, Ukraine focused on survival and recovery. The economy needed rebuilding, and millions of refugees needed help. Zelensky worked to secure long-term military and financial support from allies. At the same time, Ukraine prepared for a future without war. Zelensky promised to rebuild cities, strengthen the government, and make Ukraine stronger than before. He remained focused on fighting corruption and leading Ukraine toward European integration. The battle was not over, but Zelensky's leadership kept Ukraine united. His speeches continued to inspire hope, and his actions proved that Ukraine would never give up. Chapter 10. A Leader in History. Zelensky's journey from comedian to president to wartime leader was extraordinary. He had transformed from an entertainer into one of the most influential leaders in modern history. His leadership during the war proved his strength and dedication to his country. The world saw him as a symbol of democracy, courage, and resistance against oppression. He inspired millions with his words and actions. Ukraine's future remained uncertain, but one thing was clear. Zelensky had changed its history forever. His story was a testament to the power of leadership, bravery, and the unbreakable spirit of the Ukrainian people.